Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Troy Thompson, Pinnacle Insurance with my main man, Dan Baccia.
You know it. Welcome. Happy Wednesday.
Man, usually what we do right about now is bang the gong, but that's out in the office, and we're just not going to waste our time doing it.
We're not. That's all right. Fair enough. We'll get the gong next time.
Minimal viable product, right, Dan?
That's right. We wanted to get this going, and as you can see, we're now live on the video, which is kind of cool. We're again figuring out all the kinks and getting everything going, but we're on iTunes, Spotify,
all our loyal listeners, all our fans have been asking to see us on video too. So you asked, ladies and gentlemen, and we delivered.
Here's our pretty face. So. And it's Wednesday, so we like to talk about Dave Ramsey, some of the finance, some of the baby steps. Just to do a very quick recap, we are on step 2 this week. Baby step 1 last week, the $1,000 savings emergency fund. And Troy, what is baby step 2?
Well, there's so much psychology behind these baby steps. Baby step 1, the psychology is even if you don't make much money. Now, I shouldn't say everybody, but for most people, it is easy to save $1,000. The psychology behind baby step 2 is to pay off all your debt other than your mortgage, which, sounds good, but there are some nuances with that. Like, one thing I like to talk about first and foremost is how you pay off your smallest debt first, the credit card with the smallest balance, even if that credit card has the lowest interest rate. And Dan, you want to kind of talk about why that's important, why to start there?
Yeah, because it's a snowball. So step 2 is getting rid of your debt snowball, according to Dave. And what you're essentially doing is adding, like you said, all your debts up and just taking care of one at a time. So when you eat the elephant, you eat it one bite at a time. It's the same way taking care of the debt, one thing at a time. So you take your lowest form of debt, you get that bill paid off, and then any money that you were using towards that bill, you can then use towards your next bill, get that one paid off exponentially faster. So you're just making your minimum payments, but you're doing whatever you can. And again, when Troy says it's easy to save $1,000, he's not saying it's easy to sit on your butt and save $1,000. He's saying if you're getting diligent and you make this a priority in your life, it becomes a lot easier to save $1,000. And the same thing with the debt snowball. It's not easy to pay off your debt if you're doing what you've always done. But if you're changing and you're willing to develop some new habits and make some new sacrifices, it can get going down there. And the whole point is to, again, work off the snowball. And it accumulates. And eventually you have more and more money to throw at these debts to get you further and further. And before you know it, you're no longer paying your debts. You're now paying your investment portfolios. And that's.
I'm going to unpack a little bit further what you just said there, guys. It's very powerful. Very powerful.
Oh, thank you.
For the psychology, what I was going for, and you didn't answer what I was going for, but you answered a lot of other stuff.
I'm sorry.
But the psychology, because mathematically, it may not always make the most sense to pay off the smallest balance.
Sure.
But psychologically, you get a quick win under your belt, paying off that credit card with $500 on it.
Great point.
And even if you have that $10,000 credit card with, a double the interest rate, getting that small one paid off, then you're like, okay, I had a win. Now I'm going to go on to the next one. And wow, now I'm able to double down and triple down on what my minimum payment is. This is fun.
Right.
So it's just getting that momentum going.
That's a great momentum. That's a great way to put it. And you're right. There's no denying that it's a human brain. It's the chemicals in your brain. When you get those wins, you get that motivation and momentum to go get another win. And by the time you get to that debt number 2, you're right. Now you're putting more money to it. It now becomes more attainable. You can see it a little bit easier.
Yes.
And you get more motivated from there. And then, like you said, it's the momentum. Now you're really rocking and rolling. And you're going.
You're pumping me up right now, Dan.
Gosh darn it, let's do it, man.
Let's do it together.
No, but you're 100% right. And the psychology of it is almost just as, if not more important than the actual actions themselves. Because
you do have other financial gurus out there saying, well, Dave Ramsey does it wrong. I'd recommend paying off the one with the highest balance.
Right.
Which may mathematically work, but it doesn't make the most sense.
Well, and so I'm going to challenge you on the work, though. So would it make the most financial sense? Possibly, but like you say, this is a psychological goal. Getting out of debt is not
There's that word psychological.
It is. And so if you get those wins, and if you can now say, well, let's see, I take a $10,000 debt and now it's $8,000, that's great. But how many of your debts are under $2,000? You can probably pay off the majority of them if you have one other big one. So now you only have one piece of debt to take care of. You know, once that snowball is kind of taken care of a little bit, and psychologically, you're going to be in a much happier state of mind. You're going to be more excited about it.
You're almost gamifying it.
Gamifying is awesome.
Cut up this credit card. I'm going to cut up these next two in the next few months. Sure, I have this big balance to take care of, student loans, let's say, but I'm going to get rid of everything else, and then I'm going to attack and put those payments all into this one bigger balance until finally you have no debt other than your mortgage.
Amen. And you know, one thing I was talking about, because obviously we deal with Dave Ramsey people every day, and they're always telling us
I'm a Dave Ramsey person too.
Well, exactly, amen. But the clients that we get calls from are oftentimes going through these baby steps, and they get excited about it. And I talk to multimillionaires, and I talk to people who are just starting out that are on baby step 2. And I kind of joke, because it never goes away as you elevate through life. You know, you might have kids, you might have other things going on where you might incur some debt. And so what is almost most important, and again, this goes back to the psychological aspect, is becoming a master at that sacrifice and at that intention, that gazelle intention, so that you are living, you know, with a certain purpose in mind, with a certain dollar flow going in and out.
Live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. Delayed gratification.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. And once you can master that ability, you're going to elevate in life, and you're going to be able to jump your life level up faster, easier, more confidently. And when you do have your hiccups, because life is going to get thrown at you at one point or another, you're going to recover that much quicker. You're going to be that much more confident about the hiccups that you get.
And you and I were talking about this the other day, when you do have an emergency fund. And then we're talking maybe up to baby step 3, where you have 6 months of payments saved up, living expenses. You don't have those emergencies anymore.
No.
And that's something you can't even really explain. It's just kind of funny how that
Murphy's Law, man.
happens.
Yes. And Murphy decides to move out as soon as you get your emergency
shit together.
Exactly, because then all of a sudden they're going to say, okay, well, we don't want this to go wrong. We don't want this to break. We don't want this to happen. And all of a sudden you're going to be in a position where Murphy's not living with you anymore. All that stuff that you were having to deal with and overcome, you're like...
Let me tie this in with insurance real quick. It can almost, we've been talking about ice dams, which are an epidemic right now. And a lot of people don't necessarily know what's going to happen in the next week or two when it warms up. And I think it's going to be huge. But tying it in, if you don't have that emergency fund to pay that contractor to come out right now for $1,000, you're going to wait, and then you could have a $10,000 claim. You're still going to have to come up with your deductible, and your rates are going to go up, which is delaying you from moving on in your baby steps that much further. So when you have that emergency fund, you can actually attack potential problems to save future dollars.
So true. So true. Exactly. Yeah.
Didn't I say that well? That was really, really well said.
I think that was the most powerful thing, next to some of the stuff I've said, that we've talked about all day. All day. No, you're right on. It's a matter of mitigation. You know what I mean? If you can take care of the little stuff as it comes, you don't have to deal with the big stuff later.
You hear that little clunk in your vehicle, you can bring it to the mechanic now, or bring it to the mechanic when the engine blows.
Exactly. Oh, so I'm missing a wheel. Well, 6 months ago I probably could have said, but now it actually fell off. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely, man.
That's crazy. So what else do we have on the
Well, I just want to, speaking of ice dams, folks, we at Pinnacle Insurance have connections of people that will be willing to go out and solve your ice dam problem. Big problem. It's coming. And nobody's going to avoid it. It's not like the hailstorm of June 11th, 2017. This is where everybody in the entire state has the potential to have an ice dam.
Yep, and it's not a hail claim on your insurance. It is a water claim. Water claims are not viewed as acts of nature. Even though it's the snow and the ice dam, it doesn't matter. These insurance companies are going to look at that as you not taking care of your stuff.
Mitigation, you said that earlier. Yeah. This is something that you can prevent happening. And that's how an insurance company looks at it. Even though it's zero out, who wants to get on their 2-3 story roof and risk their life to get rid of some sort of ice dam? And you know, you're not a bad person to have this ice dam potential problem.
No.
However, an insurance company looks at you like you could have prevented it, which you probably could have. It's been in the news. It's happening.
Yeah, no, it's not fair. You're gonna be looked at probably unfavorably, and that may not be an accurate reflection of who you are as a client, who you are as an account. And so we are doing this as a educational opportunity.
A service.
Yeah, please get it fixed so that you're not having to, you know, again, if it happens, it happens. Don't beat yourself up. But again, you got to take these times now where there's still an opportunity to salvage it, to fix it, to whatever.
Unpack the definition of mitigation, Dan.
So just to mitigation means to take care of before it gets worse. Basically, if you receive a problem like your clunk in your car, mitigation simply means to take care of the small problem, take care of the clunk, because we know that any unresolved issue will grow. And so if
avoidance is not a
it's not a strategy.
A strategy.
Exactly. Avoidance is not a strategy. Well, yeah, if we put it under the rug and all of a sudden you got a 3-foot lump in your rug over there, you know what I mean? You just can't ignore it. And so mitigation simply means taking care of it as it comes, I guess, and so that you're not dealing with the potential of the built-up end result.
Absolutely. Such a good point. Such a good point. And now a future claim that we just talked about this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is flood.
Yeah.
Floods are coming. We have all this snow and it's super cold. So when it does get warm,
gotta go somewhere.
That water's going to be everywhere.
Yep.
Stay tuned for more information on floods. We actually have some companies that are offering some really cool endorsements to help in the case of a flood. So.
Yep, and we'll talk about that. We'll get some people and some resources on here as well. So, but yeah, hope everybody has a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you Friday
morning. Hump day.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody, and God bless.
Good job, man. Thank you.